Are we live? Yep, we are. We're live tonight. Shalom, everybody, on this Thursday evening, June 22nd, 2023. It is now 9:43 p.m. Get pull up a little closer here and pull my channel up so I can. There you go. All right. Tonight is the 10th and final night of the Greek gods. And the last but not least is the Greek god Dionysus, the god of wine and some other stuff we'll talk about. So that is that. All right. While I'm waiting, I am going to actually, I'm going to put up a thumbnail real quick. Dionysus tonight. Then the Greek gods are done. Tomorrow night is Friday night. And I'm going to get my dog needs some room underneath me here. Buddy. So 10th and final Greek god tonight. Tomorrow night is Friday night. I'm just going to do an open chat. Maybe a bonfire. Come on a little early. And then I might be taking some time off for a little bit. Got other things probably I'm going to be doing. So anyway, that's the plan, Stan. I'll still do live streams or maybe put up videos on this channel. I'll probably be putting up videos and maybe doing occasional live streams. Maybe just kind of instead of planned every night, just random ones. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to do a little bit more work on my other channel. I've got a new channel I'm starting for a project I'm working on. So anyway, I've got things to do. So if because they're just basically it's just been D showing up. Now I know some people watch on the replay, but I could be doing recorded videos for them. You know what I mean? Jelly bean, what was that? Anyway, shut that off. And yeah, we had a good day, huh, boys? It was a hot one. It was almost 90. It might have been 90, about 90 degrees today. So it got kind of warm here in Minnesota. I think tomorrow's going to be another 90. We had a few. Of course, right now it's beautiful. It's 74 degrees. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pop my windows back open because it is cooling down real nice. Boys. We had a great day. I'm working on curing. I'll just bring you with me here. I'll open up some windows. I just tried a new remedy for something that they call powdery mold on leaves in the garden. And it has, it almost looks like somebody threw bleach on the leaves. It's like white spots. But anyway. Oh, I gotta get some airflow in here, huh? Anyway, so I looked up some remedies on YouTube, of course. The University of Tubes. And yeah, there you go. Get some airflow in here. Kept nice and cool in here today. with just by shutting everything down. See, it's nice and cool in here. So anyway, tried some baking soda mixture on my plants, my cucumber leaves, and it's supposed to cure it, so we'll see. All right, we're back. Nice, we got some air flowing now, huh, boys? Yeah, they just had their dinner a little bit ago. Oh, are you kidding me? What are you doing? There's a cat. Smash something. You're killing me, Smalls. He threw the dish on the floor because it was empty. And smashed it. Unbelievable. That's what he does. I'll have to sweep up the crumbs later. If the cat's dish is empty, he throws it off the table and smashes it. And I thought I took precautions so he couldn't do that, but he did it anyway. It wasn't even all the way empty. Anyway, he's eating. I filled it up with some gravy swirlers. This is one of his favorites. Gravy swirlers. They are like little, I don't know if you can see them, little swirls of gravy. Anyway, yep, you cannot let his dish get empty or there's going to be trouble. So, anyway, that's what's going on there. Anyway, I just got done saying I just fed the dogs. Oh, man. All right. All right, he's fine. All right. Well, hey, Dee, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Welcome aboard. We're finishing our last Greek god tonight, Dee. 10 Olympian gods. And so I think what I'm going to do, you're doing okay. Awesome. Awesome. You had a good Thursday, I'm assuming. Anyway, it was really hot here. It was 90 degrees again. I think tomorrow's going to be one more. I should look. I think it's one more day of 90. Well, no, actually, we're finally getting some rain tomorrow. We need rain bad. I have been watering parts of my grass, some dry spots, but yeah, we're desperate need of rain. So looks like we might get a little rain over the weekend. Oh, you know what? That's not fitting in with my plan tomorrow. I wanted to. I'm doing just an open chat tomorrow, Friday night open chat, but I was thinking about doing a I was thinking about doing. I can't pull that up. I was thinking about doing a having a bonfire tomorrow. You know what's weird? Starting Tuesday, was that a few nights ago? The if I remember right, the sunset Tuesday night was 9:07, and 9:07 last night, 9:07 tonight, tomorrow night, next, next. For 13 days in a row, we're going to have a 9:07 sunset, which is kind of weird because I have kept my eye on the sunset since I've been doing Sabbath in 2016, and so I know what sunsets and usually at summer solstice, the sun sets the same time for maybe like 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days straight. Same as in December, gets like 4:24 or something, whatever. It stays there for in that because it dies. It dies for 3 days. It stays the same, and then it comes back, resurrects. That's the resurrecting sun god in December, and in June it does the same. I never remember going 13 days with the exact same sunset. And then, of course, after on day 14, it will be 9:06, and then it goes back, starts going backwards. Anyway, I just thought that was so weird because I write down my sunsets, and I'm thinking tomorrow and next day, and I'm thinking, I kept looking at and Googling the next day, and it's so weird. And for 13 nights, we're going to have the exact same sunset. All right, so. Oh, weird. I just saw Dr. Crutchfield died, and that is weird because I used to work with him. Well, actually, I was on the softball team, Dr. Crutchfield's softball team. It was a B league, and it was a little too much for me. It is weird about the sunset, isn't it? It's weird. Dr. Crutchfield just died. Yeah, it's weird. I was on a doctor's softball team, and I was a pitcher, and I also played center field. And anyway, Dr. Crutchfield asked if I wanted to be on his team on the B League for a different night of the week for more fun. And it's mixed leagues, which is really weird. I used to only play on female leagues, and when you go into mixed leagues with men and women, there's only 2 strikes and you're out, which is so weird. So weird. And I know it's a little different. It doesn't have the same rules. Anyway, that was Dr. Crutchfield, who I'll show you real quick. Shoot, just lost it. Here, I'll just show you. I just saw it on the news. This is a he's known in the Twin Cities. But yeah, I just saw it in the feed. He just died. But yeah, I'll show you. He was on his softball team, and you know what's really cool? He said if you show up like anytime within the hour before the game, you can bat for free in the batting cages, because that's where he played on Rice Street. He played on Rice Street, and there's fields there for the B League, and right next door was the batting cages, and usually it costs money to go do that. And anyway, if you showed up early, he would pay for you to go to the batting cages and practice batting. I'll show you who he is. He just died. They just got the news he died. Anyway, that's Dr. Crutchfield. I was on his softball team. Anyway, he's not very old. He's only a year older than me. No, he's 2 years older than me. He was a dermatologist. Anyway, that's weird. He always seemed healthy to me, and he was athletic too. So, I mean, he didn't play; he was the coach. But yeah, he was really like enthusiastic about it. Anyway, that's sad. So anyway, I don't know what he died from, but anyway, well, that's sad news. Like I said, he wasn't very old, a couple years older than me. But back then, when that was in the 90s when I played on his softball team. He seemed older than me, but I didn't know he was only 2 years older. But anyway, rest in peace, Dr. Crutchfield. Oh, he had cancer. You know, it's crazy. I've been watching. There he is. Dr. Crutchfield. He had died of cancer. Didn't know he was even sick. But that's sad. Anyway. And you know what else? You know, it's really weird is I hear his commercials on he got to be a pretty big, like I said, I worked with him in the 90s. He was a young doctor back then. But I'm just looking at it, trying to see what kind of, he was a dermatologist. I wonder what kind of cancer he had. I was just watching some really interesting things from a cancer doctor talking about how to starve cancer out. And I've heard that so many times, just starve it out. Get the ketones going. That's what people on that ketone diet. And he was explaining how really basic, easy it is to explain how you get cancer. And he was basically, he says your blood cells need oxygen, and they need respiration. And if they don't get respiration, they get mitochondrial cells. They're all damaged. They turn in, and they start replicating themselves really fast, and turns into cancer. Well, and what happens is when your blood cells, your body really, so as long as you have good respiration, oxygen into your cells in your body, you got good blood cells and everything. But if you starve your body and your cells and everything, all your cells, if you starve it of oxygen, you get cancer. And how do you get cancer? From I should put that link up. It's a doctor. But anyway, he says it's a fermentation process that happens in your cells. And how do you ferment anything? With sugar. And that's why people made a huge connection between sugar and obesity, sugar, diabetes, well, sugar and cancer, because it causes that sugar causes a fermentation in your body, and it robs your cells of oxygen, and that produces cancer. And so they just have to reverse that. Anyway, I've seen that so many times, doctors saying that you have to starve the cancer. You know, it's funny because when Dave had cancer, they wanted us to just feed him and feed him and feed him and feed him. And the more we fed him, the more weight he gained, he lost. He kept losing weight, losing weight. The more we fed him, yeah, we were feeding the cancer. That's what we were doing. We had a dietitian come to the house and everything. She's just showing us how to, like, everything he ate, just pile on the butter, pile on the sour cream, pile on this, pile on that. Anyway, because that's what they're taught, and that's what nutritionists will tell you, because you're losing weight so rapidly. You're trying to do everything to stop that weight loss, because it wasn't fat to begin with. You know what I mean? So anyway, but anyway, that's sad news about Dr. Crutchfield. Rest in peace. I knew him personally. I worked 20 years in a doctor's office, and he was very well known even back then. Anyway, tonight we are doing Dionysus, the last of the 10 Olympic gods from Greece, Greek gods, and this is the god of wine and other stuff we're going to talk about. Yeah, I hope it's not raining tomorrow night, because I kind of want to do a bonfire live stream. Anyway. All right, so thank you, Father, for another day and blessing us with the gathering. And we thank you for all you've provided today. Amen. All right, so we'll show a few pictures of Dionysus, and we're going to be talking about Dionysus. And I'm pretty sure that they channeled Dionysus back in the 60s, like Jim Morrison, all them other ones. All right. All right, so I'm going to pull up just probably some pictures we'll look at. Just 1 second, you guys. And some extra stuff up here I don't need, so I'll make it easier. All right, Dionysus. Let's look at him. To me, Dionysus sounds like a girl's name, but it is a guy. I'm glad I had the camera off, because as soon as I pulled the images up, half of them are naked. All right. They do that a lot with the Greek gods. They just, anyway. And especially with, well, if you pull up Dionysus, you are going to get some naked pictures, because he is the symbol of, you know, fertility and, anyway, stuff like that. That's what they do. All right. Shoot, I was going to pull something else up, and that's naked. Hold on a second. 1 second. I don't know how YouTube is about naked pictures, so I'm going to play it safe here. I got to search out a different one that doesn't have it naked. Hold on a second. Yeah, there's a lot of naked, because, and by the way, the Roman, we've heard, we know that Dionysus, there was, and I'm pretty sure this was like, what was it? I'm not 100% sure, but if I remember right from a long time ago, it was, he came around like 300 BC. No, even before that, way before that, because there was a play about him in 300 BC. Bacchus, the Romans call Dionysus Bacchus, 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 and the Dionysus. There was a play that they used to put on, a very well-known play back in 300 BC called the Bacchae, and it is about Dionysus. Well, basically, and very, very much similarities with the story in John. John, I think, gathers lots of stuff out of Dionysus for his Jesus. I'm the vine, you're the branches. Well, that's actually that's kind of like him and Dionysus and his boyfriend. I forgot, he's a goat god. Can't remember which one. Anyway, we'll go over that. A demigod, half goat, half god. All right, yeah, let's find a picture with him with a little clothes on real quick. There's pretty much not many. Okay, here's one. And yes, he is. Oh, here we go. Here's one where he's wearing something. Hopefully you guys can see it because it's really light. All right. God of wine, but he's god of other stuff too, like fertility and partying and stuff like that. Hold on a second. There we go. All right, so here he is. Here's a statue of him. Pan. Yeah, it might. Well, no, it wasn't Pan. You'd think it would be Pan, but I can't think of his name. But it will come across it, I'm sure. Because yeah, this guy had a boyfriend, and it was the goat god, not Pan. But that's a good guess because Pan is the first one I think of, and it's probably the one that most people know. But there's another goat god, and maybe it is Pan, just called by a different name, because different countries and different groups call the same god. Like this is Dionysus, but the Greeks call him Dionysus, but the Romans call him Bacchus, and so on. So, Pan might be called something else too. That's very common. Back to quick. Dionysus, Dionysus, god of wine. This is a real old. This is you can tell when it's old because they make their heads don't match the size of the body, and the bodies are always big and the heads are little, and then they always have that weird slanted nose, like no forehead, like some cartoon, like signature. All right. Physical description: handsome, dark, and thick hair, beard with a mustache, and usually wears a grapevine around his head. And that is what they were channeling in the 60s. Jim Morrison channeled Dionysus with the drinking, the drugs, and the alcohol, parties with music, all that stuff. So this is and there's other people in the 60s wore the wreath around the head. Remember that? It was a thing in the 60s, the wreath around the head. Well, that's Dionysus that they're channeling or whatever, emanating. So, where's a grape? So and that's, by the way, the grape is a grapevine wreath, not just any wreath, a grapevine wreath around his head. He's a son of Zeus and Semele. Now, it's not, anyway, Zeus and Semele, Semele, married to Ariadne, youngest of the Olympians. So this is the youngest of the 10. Famous for he was rescued by Zeus from Semele before she died, and he was born in Zeus's leg. Remember, some came out of the forehead. Well, this one came out of Zeus's leg. Weird birth stories, I'll tell you that. Anyway, whatever, which way works, right? What do I know? Now he rescued his mother from the underworld after Zeus kills her from lightning. Remember, Zeus has the lightning bolts in his hands. He's rescued Adrian from Theseus when he abandons her. And also, interesting fact, only God to have a mortal parent. And this really is a demigod. So he's a demigod, and he hooks up with the demigod too. So he's half God, half man. He's got a mortal parent. He's the only one of the Olympian gods to have a mortal parent. Now remember, there was one that had no parent, but this one has a mortal parent. Granted and ungranted King Midas's golden touch. Isn't that funny? Remember, we always heard about the Midas touch. King Midas's golden touch. I think that's funny. I think it's funny. The Midas touch. When Adrian dies, he put her jeweled crown in sky as a constellation. So I'm not sure which constellation that is. That's interesting. Here, let me see. Who died? Adrian. Okay. Is it Adrian's constellation? I imagine if you named it after her. I'm just going to check real quick. What is Adrian's constellation? There is. That's interesting. I don't know if you see it. I can't really see it that good. All right. All right. Dionysus, god of wine and other stuff. So let's see what else there. He's famous for. He's got strength. He's got weaknesses. Let me see. Now, I sure hope Grace is okay. Sometimes when we don't see her for a while, she's just visiting with her family. And sometimes she's sick and in a lot of pain, so we should say a prayer for her. Father in heaven, please hear our prayers for Grace. We just pray if she's in need of healing, that you restore her and heal her. Amen. All right, I am pulling up. Actually, before I pull up that, we're just gonna go over some facts. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Oh, okay. All right. All right, Dionysus. Facts about Dionysus. Now, of course, wait a second. That's so weird. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. All right, I got it. Let me find a picture. One with oh, here. Might get overrun with ads. That's what I don't like about this site. I don't think I'm going to use it again. The ads are just crazy how they just show up on here and start blocking what you're reading. I mean, remember the car ad yesterday? Just wouldn't even let me do anything. I'm not even looking for a car. All right, hold on a second. This thing's hard to control. All right, so let's look at the picture there. Facts about Dionysus. Dionysus was called Bacchus in Roman mythology. We went over that. Dionysus married a mortal named Adrian. All right, so what was so special about Dionysus? Well, Dionysus was the great liberator through wine. Liberator, you know what I'm saying? It's just like in the 60s. Dionysus was a great liberator through wine, and he would free men of their inhibitions and their very selves. Even in, well, that's when you get drunk, you know what I mean? You lose your inhibition and you lose yourself. So that's what this one's all about. Even in today's culture, you will often hear people apologizing for not being themselves after a night that would make Dionysus proud. So when you're drunk and you act totally different, that's what Dionysus was trying to make you do. Dionysus would be proud, as they say. So what are 4 traits of Dionysus? Dionysus was the Olympian god of wine, vegetation, pleasure, festivity, madness, and wild frenzy. In other words, drunken parties. He was depicted as either an older, bearded god or an effeminate, long-haired youth. It's kind of 2 extreme opposites. He attributes, his attributes include the pine cone tip staff. Do you see his staff up there? It's got a pine cone at the end of it. Remember, we had one god or goddess that had a lotus at the end of her staff. Now this one's got a pine cone. It's actually called a Thyrsos, thyrsos, a pine cone tip staff, and a drinking cup, and a crown of ivy. So, of course, those are a grapevine wrapped around his head. 3 things Dionysus is god of. In ancient Greek religion and myth, Dionysus is the god of winemaking, orchards and fruit, vegetation, fertility, festivity, insanity, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, and theater. What are Dionysus's weaknesses? Because there's always a weakness. Strengths. First of all, strengths. Dionysus is the creator of wine. Yeah. Well, you thought Noah was the first one that made wine. Nope. Maybe. Who knows? He also shakes things up when it gets dull. His weaknesses is god of intoxication and drunkenness, states he pursues frequently. He loves to be drunk. He likes everybody else drunk too. Now, who did Dionysus fall in love with? As we said before, Adrian. That's who he fell in love with. Is here that according to the myth, Adrian and King Theseus stopped to rest, and where Dionysus fell in love with Adrian while she slept. What are the 2 myths about Dionysus? Well, like Persephone, who we did talk about, Dionysus is associated with vegetation, myths, including death in winter and the resurrection in the spring. That's the winter and or fall and spring equinox, I think, or solstice. Yeah, equinox. His festival is celebrated in the spring. In one myth, Dionysus is torn to pieces by the Titans, but born again every 3 years. Yeah, he's born again every 3 years, restored to a new body. Is Dionysus asexual? Well, in ancient Greek mythology, Dionysus was the god of collective ecstasy. He is often described as an androgynous and asexual figure whose followers would dance himself into trances. Um, the power is, of course, Dionysus had the power to inspire and to create ecstasy, so you could really get that party going. Nickname, of course, is Bacchus. That is funny. You know what his nickname is? Besides Bacchus and Dionysus, his nickname is also Mr. D. Period Liber. Here, I'll show you. Where you get liberation from. My phone's all smashed up. Can you see that? I can't see it. Hold on a second. I don't know where I can pull that up on. Anyway, D. Liber. Mr. D, the first initial D, last name Liber, Liber, word that's deliver or deliverance, or maybe deliberated or liberated. Weird. All right. 10 facts about Dionysus. Dionysus is called Bacchus in the Roman mythology. We already went over that. He had many half-brothers and half-sisters who we have gone over already, including Ares, Aphrodite, Hermes, and Athena. We did go over there. Now, what does Dionysus not like? Oops, what did I just do? All right, what did Dionysus not like? He hates heroes. Dionysus hates a hero, despite the fact that he himself was one, and his grandfather, Cadmus, was one of the first great heroes, along with Perseus and Bellerophon. Otherwise, he hates other heroes. So he got angry because in the beginning, Dionysus was angry in the beginning of the Bacchae, and this is a play, because some people doubted that he was really a god. They believed that the human mother lied about his father, and he really is just simply a child of a mortal man. And I think it's funny because in that play, the Bacchae, which is about Dionysus, there's so many things in there that they ended up in the Gospels later, 400 years later, 500 years later, from 300 BC to 1 or 200 AD. It ends up in the Gospels. Like particularly in John. John is very Dionysus aware. And, you're the vine on the branches, the turning. And one thing Dionysus did, famous for, was turning giant jugs of water into wine. Does that sound familiar? Sound like John? I'm the vine, you're the branches. Yeah, turning giant jugs of water into wine. Let me see here. I was going to say something. I forgot. Let's see. Oh, you know what else is in the Bacchae? Also in the Bacchae, hundreds of years before Luke, I think it was Luke. But anyway, in the Gospels, a few things. Not just the turning the jugs of water into wine, like in the Gospel of John. On the vine, you're the branches. But also he was doing where somebody was in prison, like when Peter was in prison, same story. I'm sorry, Paul. When Paul was in prison, and remember, Luke wrote Acts also. You know what I mean? So you have John and Luke, who are obviously Greeks, or Romans, and they're also kissing Roman government butt in their Gospels too. If you notice, they'll never say anything against the Roman government. In fact, the Gospels are so Roman that you can tell the writers are like they're cutting cutting Pontius Pilate a break, making him seem like more of a hero, sympathetic character, and I don't know, just lots of influences. But there's another one where Paul is in prison, and this happens in the Bacchae. In the Bacchae, somebody, I can't remember who it is, they're in prison, and there's a giant earthquake, and the chains fall off, and the door opens by itself, and everybody falls over, and Paul walks out the prison doors. Remember that? Or Peter, one of them, whatever it was. Anyway, that exact same story is from the Bacchae. Same thing, earthquake, shackles broke, doors open, walked right out of prison. Same thing. And also another story out of the Bacchae, Dionysus, and I that don't, it's either Luke or John, because those are the ones who drew from Dionysus, and that for sure I can think of the top of my head. But also the story about when they went over the wall in a basket. Remember, they put Paul in the basket and lowered him over the wall and put a blanket over him so at night so he could get away. Same thing in the Bacchae. Anyway, so yeah, I'll show you real quick. His name is D, Mr. D, first letter D, last name Liber. That's who Dionysus is. Dionysus, Bacchus, and Liber. That's where liberated comes from. It's probably where libations come from, you know what I mean, when you're drinking. Anyway, over here, parents. So over here. Parents are Zeus and Semele, wife Adrienne, god of wine, festivity, and madness, home of Mount Olympus. He was the youngest of the gods. Symbol is a pine cone staff. You know, that's how you recognize him, which is called a thyrsus. A thyrsus, or however you pronounce it, is a pine cone staff. Sacred animal is a panther and a bull and a serpent. Like panthers are cool. Sacred plant is a grapevine, ivy, and bindweed. And his cohorts, or his fellow gods, or whatever he hangs around with, is Silenus, Satyrs, and Maenads. And as a matter of fact, that one right there, the Satyrs, where is it? Satyrs right there. That's the goat god one, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to look it up. Bacchus and Laius and Liber. Roman name is Liber, but it's also Bacchus. I think more Bacchus than Liber. Family tree. Uranus. These people. All right. Where are we at here? All right. Now, there we are. Come on. Calm down. All right. This thing's not rolling very easy. My scroll thing don't work, so I have to use that thing tab on the side, and it's, you know. So, well, if there's anything we didn't go over. All right, we'll go over the Dionysus was the son of Zeus and the princess Semele of Thebes. During the course of her pregnancy, the god's jealous wife Hera tricked Semele into asking Zeus to appear before her in his full glory. Bound by oath, the god was forced to comply, and she was consumed by the heat of his lightning bolts. Zeus recovered their unborn child from her body, sewed it up in his own thigh, and carried him to term. Well, there you go. Why didn't we think of that? After his birth from the thigh of Zeus, Dionysus was first entrusted to the care of Silenus and the nymphs of Mount Nysa, and later to his aunt Ino. Semele's sister, and her husband Athamas. Hera was engaged when she learned of the boy's location and drove the couple mad, causing them to kill both their children and themselves. The Thracian king, Lycurgus, attacked Dionysus and his companions as they were traveling through his land and drove them into the sea. As punishment, the god afflicted him with madness, causing him to murder his wife and son and mutilate himself with an axe. You know, it does sound like what people do when they're drunk. Well, some people. King Pantheus of Thebes refused to accept the god's divinity and tried to apprehend him. The god retaliated by driving the king's daughter into a crazed frenzy, and they tore him apart limb from limb. You know, it seems like everybody this Dionysus comes in contact with goes insane. Just saying. Oops. Dionysus instructed hero Icarius of Athens in the art of winemaking. However, some shepherds, upon drinking the wine, thought they had been poisoned and killed him. The sorrowful god then set him amongst the stars as a consolation boots. So you could look that up too. So this where some of these constellations get their names are from these Greek gods, and something that happened like this story here. As Dionysus was traveling through the islands of the Aegean Sea, he was captured by a band of Tyrrhenian pirates who thought to sell him into slavery. The god infested their ship with phantoms of creeping vines and wild beasts. And in terror, the men leapt overboard and were transformed into dolphins. Well, there you go. Oh, that's where dolphins came from. Dionysus married Princess Ariadne of Crete, whom he discovered abandoned by Theseus in the island of Naxos. The god launched a campaign against the Indian nation in the farthest reaches of Asia, leading an army composed of satyrs, Medians, and demigods. Dionysus journeyed to the underworld to recover his mother Semele and brought her to Olympus, where Zeus was transformed into the goddess Dione, and many other myths. Now I'm going to see if I have a picture. Actually, let me find it, because I'm going to find this thing. If I can, then we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to find a picture of this thing. What's it called? All right, and I think it's funny that they call it, I'll show you real quick. Satire. Satire, Maenades, and demigods. Satires. They say that's like comedy or whatever. Satire. All right. Satires. Oops. In Greek mythology, I'll show you real quick what satires are. Oh, I should pull up the other thing too. What was it? Oh, my thing's stuck now. Hold on a second. Maenades. Maenades. Like manatees. 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 Like manatees. But manatees. All right. First of all, let's look at these things. Okay. All right. So here's who he hung with. Let me show you real quick. Oh, come on. You can do it. There you go. Maniad, that's what I hung around with. It's not really showing up good on here. In Greek mythology, Maenades were the female followers of Dionysus and the most significant members of the Thesis, the gods' return. Oh, that's his little army there. Their name literally means raving ones, like raving madness. And the Menea gods are Medeas or Maenades were women devoted to the god Bacchus. So the raving ones, they're like fans, fanatics. And what are the other ones here? The other ones were called satyrs. Satyrs were the male creatures who inhabited woodlands and forests in Greek mythology. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Gotta be really careful with this one because I can't even show you the pictures because they have very large male organs, which are perpetually doing their thing. So anyway, I can't even pull up a picture of this thing, but it's called a satyr, and they're male creatures who inhabited woodlands and forests in Greek mythology. They often accompanied Dionysus. They were frequently depicted in art and myth as members of the Godax ecstatic entourage. An entourage, by the way, which included not only satyrs, but wild women known as Medes and Bacchantes. As a matter of fact, so you got these goat gods with giant penises going after these women who are just party animals. And they all hung around Dionysus. So I would show a picture, but I really can't. But you can look it up. Anyway, they really can't get a picture of them with like clothes on. And anyway, so that's who hung around Dionysus. They're called satyrs and manatees or something like that. Sounds like manatees. Those things in Florida. All right, and I think that's about it. And that wraps up the 10 Greek gods. I had my list. I think I must not need it anymore. Anyway, but that is all 10 of the Greek gods. I don't think I have it anymore. Right. I had a little list here, but that was it. All 10. Olympian Greek gods. Yeah, I must have thrown it out. I had my list here, but we are done with that. So, that will do it. Oh, here's my list. Yep, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, not 10. I keep saying 10. It's 12 Olympian Greek gods, not 10. Every time I said 10, I knew that wasn't right. I was thinking it don't sound right. It is a dozen. It's 12. It's the dirty dozen. It is 12 Greek gods, Olympian Greek gods, not 10. So we went through Zeus, Poseidon, Apollo, Hermes, Hades, Athena, Ares, Demeter, Hera, Hephaestus, Hestia, and Dionysus. And those were the 12. You're welcome. Those were all 12 Olympian gods. And you know what I found really interesting is there's I could go back and pick out all kinds of things that the Olympics and that you see every day, like say in the Olympics, what do we have? The perpetual torch that they light. Anyway, you can still see today all these things that are still kind of relative. Yeah, I'm gonna sign off there. Well, thank you so much, Dee. Thanks for coming in. I'm gonna sign off here. And anybody who's listening on the replay, thanks for listening on the replay. Thanks for coming in, Dee. I appreciate it. Tomorrow's just gonna be an open chat. If it's possible, I might do a bonfire. I don't know. Maybe hang out in the camper. Not sure. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for coming in. There you go. All right. God bless you all. Glory to God.